to a club and just get absolutely fuck-eyed? I do. I do. It's been a while. Okay, I haven't really sat down and done a rec video for a while. It's been a few weeks. But has it? I don't even know anymore. I don't even know what day it is. I don't even know who I am. I'm in my pajamas as per usual. Do not fucking judge me. But how cool is this? I got an Oodie. Have you guys heard about Oodies? They're like giant dressing gowns that are like a hoodie. I'm obsessed. I literally just got it in the mail and I was like, are we going to fucking put it on in the video? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. It feels like a giant blanket. Like, are you joking me? Whoa. This is the best thing ever. Stop it right now. I look like a giant bean. Have you seen those TikToks of that giant bean? That chick that pretends to be a fucking bean? That's so funny. It's a giant fucking blanket hoodie, Oodie MARYMAC30. In all seriousness though, like, you'll be catching me on the couch like this. No shame, no gain. If you are a homebody bitch like me and you need an Oodie, you need that fucking blanket life, here's the code. It'll give you money off your order, which is just fabulous. This is the comfiest thing I've ever worn in my entire life. I'm someone that's really cold all the time, so love my life. It's been a while. You know that song? 90s. Love the 90s. I'm a 90s baby. Anyway, student teacher trope. I haven't done a video on my favorite student teacher books yet. So, you know what's happening, hun. Peep the bookshelf. It's a vibe on another level. You already know what's up. We're doing student teacher. Did I already say that? I did. I don't have that many because, to be honest, personally, student teacher's kind of overdone, and to me it can be really predictable, and I like to be on the edge of my seat when I'm reading romance. Like, throw something new at me, you know what I'm saying? So student teacher, I kind of know what's happening. You know where the fucking plot's going. It's like a single straight path, you know what I mean? A to B. You're not going A, B, C, back to D, back to B. Like, you know, it's just beginning, middle, end. You kind of already know what's up. But the ones that I'm going to recommend today are my favorites. So let's just get into it. I know a lot of you bitches like the whole student teacher trope, which I understand why it's so popular. A student teacher's fucking hot. And if you don't think it's hot, problems. Don't know what's up with you. My first rec that I want to suggest today is When October Starts by Seven Rue. Now, if you haven't read any of Seven Rue's stuff before, I don't know where you're living, hun. She's an indie author. Most of her books are kind of like novellas. They're shorter. She doesn't really write like huge books. As of recent though, she's been writing some bigger ones. She's known for her very taboo, very erotic stories. This one here is one of my favorites from her. Even though it's still erotic, it's definitely not as erotic as the other books from her that I've read, and I just really enjoyed this humble fucking story. Like, it was super sweet. So it's about this girl who goes to this really cool, like, community school. I don't know how to explain it. Like, the whole way that the school system's set up in this book is super cool. It's like a house, and there's like a couple of students, and they just kind of like lounge around on couches and then get taught. Like, it's super cool. Anyway, she goes to this like indie type of like community school, and there's a new teacher. He's quite young. It's super sweet. Like, I love the whole like aesthetic of this book. If you've read this, you know what I mean. It's really easy to read as well, which is something that I appreciate. Sometimes I want a book that's just gonna flow like a movie in my head, and Seven Rue's books do that. As I said, it's a novella, so it's short, quick, easy. If you want something that's gonna be like really humble, but also give you that little like steam factor there, that little like naughty taboo-ness, this is where it's at. This is Sweet Dandelion by Micalea. I think that's her name, Smeltzer. It's one of my favorite book covers. That's why I've got it in paperback form. This isn't a relationship between a student and a teacher. It's a student and her guidance counselor. This is one of my favorite books I've ever freaking read. It's beast mode, hun. It's so big, but this is really emotional. It's really beautiful. It's It's a powerful book. There's a lot about gun violence, a lot about anxiety and the side effects of, like, you know, trauma. It's quite a deep book, but I just loved the chemistry between the two characters in this book, the student and the guidance counselor. Super sweet, really humble, and the sex was just really good. It wasn't like this erotic, like, I'm gonna bend you over and fucking spank you, bitch. It was nothing like that. It was just like chemistry, you know, like tension. Like there was things zapping in the air between those two, and you just wanted to sit there and be like, can you fuck already? Because you're doing my bloody brain in. I need you guys to finally do the deed. It needs to happen now before I jump in the book and do it for you. You can just tell throughout the book how much Lachlan truly cares about Danny, and it's just beautiful, honestly. And can we just take a moment to appreciate this book cover? Everything and more. Everything and more. I've mentioned this book before. I've mentioned a lot of these books before, to be honest, but I thought I'd just put them all in one spot. This is Dark Notes by Pam Godwin. So this is more on the darker side. There's a lot in this book to do with assault, sexual assault. It's about this girl who comes from the, like, wrong side of the tracks. She comes from some, like, traumatic shit. Her dad passes away, but before he passes away, he sells his piano bar to pay for her intuition at this really well-known kind of like fancy music school, because she's quite talented. And it's just sad because she's just like one of those girls that doesn't wear Gucci, you know what I mean? She gets bullied for that type of shit, and her family life is really bad. Like once her dad died, things just went fucking haywire, you know what I'm saying? Shit just went wrong. Her mum suffers from addiction and stuff. Anyway, she ends up going to this school. This new teacher ends up starting at this school. He had to leave his old job because there was like rumors about him. Anyway, he ends up starting his new job at this school, has contact with this girl. Things kind of start happening. This has some BDSM in it, and it kind of explains how BDSM becomes a kink for those who have been through some traumatic shit. Like it kind of explains why a lot of girls who have been through trauma end up being submissive and look for a dom. So if you don't know a lot about BDSM, you can actually get a lot of information out of this book, which I don't really know a lot. Like I've just researched what I can here and there, and from books that I've read. It's really sexy though. There's some books that I've read with BDSM in it and I'm like, sorry, not for me, hun. But this one was done so well. And there's a lot more to this story than just like the student falls in love with the teacher. It's a really good read. It's quite dark. It's a bit more of a complex read than what I personally like. I didn't fly through this as fast as the other books I'm recommending, but the writing is beautiful and the story is really good. We got Voyuer from Fiona. I've mentioned this book so many times, and this series in general. So here we go again. It's about this sex club that you become a member of, and you go and see people perform live porn for you. You get the option of picking like the actors or actress, what kink she's gonna perform, and you kind of like get to see it come to life in front of your eyes. It's super sexy, it's super steam worthy, but this series definitely has a lot of darkness in it. Not super dark as in like it's gonna fuck with your head, but they're not light topics. The first book is Voyeur. This is the first book of the series, and this is a student teacher romance, obviously, because I'm putting it in the video. So this girl has a lot of savings for her college tuition, and her parents end up spending it all. So she's like, what the fuck am I gonna do, hun? What am I gonna do? Her best friend's uncle owns Voyeur, the sex club, and her best friend says to her, hey bitch, my uncle owns this sex club, like why don't you work for it? And she's like, hun, no way, I'm not that type of bitch. I cannot be that type of bitch. And her best friend is like, give it a go, like you might be surprised. So she ends up going to this sex club, having an interview and getting a job. Her first scene is like a solo masturbation. She ends up kind of really enjoying it. So she stays at the job and she starts earning her college intuition. She has this one client that she's not really aware of that comes to her quite often, always requests her. He's very possessive, very intense. He doesn't like other people watching her. He kind of just claims her as his. She doesn't really know anything about him. She doesn't know about the people that pick to see her. Anyway, she ends up going to college on her first day of the semester, walks into class and meets her teacher. Her teacher ends up being the dude that requests her constantly at Voyuer. She's unaware of this, but he knows who she is now, and he's freaking the fuck out. He's like, oh my god, this entire time, I've been watching my student. There's a backstory behind him, why he goes to the Voyeur club, why he's like obsessed with her, why she's the only one that can get him off, and that part of the story is super dark. I love this series. It is one of my favorite series I've ever fucking read. Each book is about a different trope, and they're companion novels as well. So each book is about a different couple, but everyone's connected to the Voyeur club. If you haven't read this, you really fucking need to. It's super dark, super steam-worthy. Like, some of the sex in this book, I'm like, damn. It hits the spot. Sex in books hits different. You can't tell me otherwise. Then we've got Misbehaved by Charleigh Rose. I read this like a year ago. It's one of my favorite books. This book has a very similar plot to Dark Notes. So this is about Riley. Comes from the wrong side of the wrong tracks, mate. Okay, she has like a really dodgy fucking relationship with her stepbrother. That's something else as well. She ends up starting her first day at this really bougie school because she's got like a scholarship, and everyone kind of like bullies her. She's hot as fuck though, but people bully her because she's like scummy. And she ends up being attracted to her teacher, who's quite young. He's in like his late 20s and she's like 17. No, she's 16. She hasn't turned 17 yet. And he's feeling the same kind of pull towards her. He's feeling really attracted to her, but obviously he knows that he can't be. Like, it's his student. He's not allowed to screw his student. So there's a lot of like tension and chemistry and like angst between these two. Honestly, fuck. But yeah, one of my favorites. It's really good. It's really good. It's very fast paced, very easy to read. It's super steam-worthy, hun. Like, vagina flutters galore. This teacher in this book is fucking hot. And if I was 17 again and I had him as a teacher, damn fucking straight I would be seducing him. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. This bitch, Riley, is like, oh my god, I want to take my pants off for you. And when I was reading her reaction to this teacher, I was like, I'm taking mine off too. Okay, so the last book I'm going to recommend today is a recent read of mine, and this is one of my favorite books. I enjoyed it so much that I didn't actually read it very quickly. I forced myself to like string it out over a couple of days. So this is Burnout by Coralee. June. Never read anything from this author before. This is my first read from her. Fuck. This is so good. So this again, obviously, is a student-teacher trope. But there's more to this than just the student-teacher. So this girl's mum dies and she ends up becoming homeless and having to go live with her brother, who was adopted out before she was born. So she moves in with her brother, doesn't know him. Doesn't know her brother. All she knows is he's like wealthy as fuck, and her mum adopted him out. Like, she didn't keep him. She's quite, I don't want to say damaged, but she's got some issues. Her mum was a cunt. There's no other way of putting it. Her mum was a fucking cunt who just slept with large amounts of men, did drugs, smoked darts, fucking drank all the time, treated her daughter like shit, and she kind of just walks around like trying to get away from her mother, and like, even though she's dead, she's still like haunting her. It's very sad. Anyway, her brother is ecstatic over this. He's always wanted siblings and he's like, fuck yeah, I got a little sister bitch, I'll take care of you. He's loving life. But his best friend, who he's been friends with for so many years, is really like cautious of her and kind of sits her down and is like, are you here for the money? It's kind of like an enemies to lovers situation in this book, and it's like, enemies to lovers, brother's best friend, and she ends up going to a new school and he ends up being her teacher. The chemistry, hun, the angst. This was a slow burn. This was a slow fucking burn. This is a little bit YA. Like, the scenes when they do have sex, they're not very, they are erotic, but it's just not a book where there's tons of sex in it, which I can appreciate. Sometimes when there's too much sex in a book, I'm like, oh, if I wanted to just like read about getting railed, I would just watch porn instead of reading this. Sometimes I feel like, yeah, books can be overdone with the sex. This one though, when they finally had sex in this book, I was like, damn, finally. And there's some naughty scenes in the classroom. He's so hot. Don't know him. Doesn't exist. He's not a real human. Fuck. These teachers, stop it right now. Stop it right now, hun. Like, don't be like bending your students over across your desk. That's so naughty. I can't. Anyway, guys, that's all my student teacher recommendations. As I said earlier on, it's not a trope that I read that often because I kind of feel like they're a little bit predictable. But if you have any like cool student teacher recommendations that are like outside of the box, something circle, something different, let me know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Thumbs it up before leaving. Don't forget to subscribe. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!